Welcome to the Once Upon an Island podcast. I'm your host, Wesley. And of course, I am joined by my co-host,
Rebekah.
And today we're talking about possibly, who knew that the episode, not called episode several, will be the messiest one of the season so far. Episode 8. It's just episode 8. It's not even like a fun name.
Is that just what it's called? Is episode 8? There's no title?
Oh, I have no idea. I didn't.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I expected on this season for the messiest episode to be episode several, but no, in this case, it's episode 8. Yeah, out of all of them. And it's kind of like we predicted, or maybe I predicted in the preseason. I said, Vanuatu started slow, but starting with an earthquake in episode 5, it took off. Well, in this season, it's kind of like when Banu was voted off. He was the earthquake.
Yeah.
Or more of like the plague. I don't know what you want to call it, but he definitely was bringing down the season.
Yeah, there's some analogy in there.
I can't believe Jeff on his podcast said he would cast Banu again in an instant. And I'm like, what? He did? Yeah, why?
That's crazy.
Why was my question. Why? Because he got like he got like twice the number of confessionals that some winners get, which is insane.
Right.
2 in 4 episodes. Anyway, so yeah, we're here to talk about episode 8 of Survivor 46. It's been a real mess. The season's gotten real hot. We are also going to answer y'all's questions. We got chapter markers here on YouTube. Tomorrow, Mary and myself and Rebekah.
Oh my goodness.
Could you imagine
if you got Taylor,
Swift?
I would happily bow out.
Why would Taylor Swift? She's like, oh yeah, can I be on your episode 8 winner analysis podcast? I got nothing else to do.
Yeah.
No, Rebekah.
That sounds like her.
Rebekah's
well, she does have something else to do because she has an album coming out tomorrow.
Oh my gosh. All right. So Rebekah, me and Mary will all be ranking the 9 remaining players tomorrow. But anyways, for today, we're going to go through everything. And what a mess. I got to tell you, my top 3, I don't even have it to my top 3 right now yet. Because Tevin was in my top 3 for so long, I didn't even know who to replace him with.
Yeah, see, it's so interesting because I feel this way about multiple people, but I think I said this last week where with Tevin, I think he was my number 2 last week, but I was like, I feel like he's too obvious. And I felt this way about several people this season where it's like Banu, like Banu felt so obvious in episode 1. But, and like, I think I had him as my number 1 after the first episode, which is like obviously hilarious given how that all turned out.
He was just giving Survivor an ego stroke for the whole episode. So it helped a lot of his screen time in that first episode. Yeah.
Yeah. But so, yeah, I feel your struggle with the top 3 because even now, like I have my top 3, but some of them I just feel like, I don't know, is this person like too obvious?
That's a good thing.
Are they just going to go?
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. And I love not knowing what's going on. I loved this episode because I love like chaotic, messy episodes where you don't know what's going to happen. Like that's so fun.
I think Survivor 45 started strong. It kind of ended just mediocre. Like overall, it's a good season. Whereas 41 through 44 was a mixture of okay to, I mean, as I said, we talked about this before. We did a whole ranking last season during 45, but 43, I think, had really high highs, but really low lows. But then like the other seasons were just like, okay, this is a season of Survivor we watched all together. 46 though, I mean, started really weak and now it's getting really strong. So we'll see if 46 could be on par with 45. It just depends on your taste because 45, I feel like was a more positive experience despite the 2 quits. But 46 definitely has a lot of like saltiness and betrayal and a lot of those things that we've been missing for a while. A lot of, this is not Kumbaya Survivor, thankfully, for once.
Yeah. Which it does have that, but it also, and we talked about this last week, I think, but it has more fun moments too. Like, especially during the challenges, like we got some more like sass from Jeff this week, which I love. And just like the hide and seek thing, just it kind of feels like people are having more fun with this season. Although, like you said, yeah, they are also being more harsh and like throwing shade at people and stuff. And so, yeah, I don't know. I like both of those elements and I like that they're both happening at the same time.
I think Survivor had a lot of heat underneath it post the Dan situation in 39, which 40 was filmed right then and there. So that didn't really affect it. But so I think 41, 42 was like a very tumultuous time and they made a lot of decisions they shouldn't have. And then 43 and 44 was kind of like trying to figure out where safety is. And then 45 and 46, I feel like they kind of loosened up finally. course, the 90 minutes helps a lot too. But the 90 minutes would not change how salty this cast is at each other. Like how much they are just going at it, which I appreciate.
That's true.
And it does help that Venus, who I understand why people like her. I still don't think she's going to win. But yes, Venus is definitely helping a lot of the saltiness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to be really curious to hear like people's reaction to this week because I agree. I don't think she's going to win, but she did defeat Tevin. So
true.
Was it her? I don't know. Like she was part of it.
And I've never had Tevin in my top 3, so I already saw this coming.
Oh, really? Is that true?
No, he's been in my top 3 like every week, the whole season.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
Rebekah, are you new? Hello.
Right. Are you new?
Is this your first time?
Yeah, apparently. Yeah.
All right. Well, it's Rebekah's first time. For everyone else who's been here before.
Yeah.
Let's welcome Rebekah.
I've never seen Survivor before. This was my first episode of Survivor
You're doing
ever.
A great job.
Yeah, thank you. This was a good episode to start with, I feel.
Yeah, no, welcome to the show. I do recommend after watching this episode going back and just watching from the beginning. Some people are going to be like, well, that's boring. But, you can't appreciate all the good stuff without some of the boring stuff. That's all I'm saying. All right.
Yeah, you got to put in the work.
Yeah, put in the work to enjoy this show, okay? Just pretend gatekeeping. All right, so anyways, the beginning of the episode, we're reminded that Tiffany and Hunter have idols. And I was like, oh, there's an idol play tonight. As turns out, no, there's not an idol play tonight. So why were we reminded it yet again?
Yeah, I feel like even though the idol wasn't played tonight, it was still important, at least for Tiffany, because I almost feel like the fact that her idol is now known was a determining factor in how some people voted. Because when you have a chaotic tribal and you know that someone has an idol, you're probably not going to vote for them because if they play it, then who knows what's going to happen.
I thought Hunter might play his idol for Tevin. I thought that's what they were setting up, frankly.
Oh, true.
When we got all the Tevin being targeted talk, and I was like, oh, Hunter's playing his idol for Tevin. And it did not happen that way.
Yeah.
Nope. That's all I got to say on that. That's what I thought was going to happen. Like the moment Q told Hunter, I'm like, Hunter's playing his idol for Tevin. And he did not.
Yeah.
Hunter, I don't know if that would have helped Hunter though long term, like saving Tevin tonight. So Venus goes. I don't know. I think Tevin's just back on the hot seat again. Like I don't think it saves Tevin beyond this one episode. So anyways, the Hunter holding his idol and winning out on immunities might be his best play at the moment. Just win out, buddy. That's all you got, I think. Frankly, at the moment, that's what you're saying. Going to the merge, where like Hunter's gonna have to just win out on immunities. He even showed up during the challenge. And I was like,
yeah, that felt like not a good move. Like, I get why he did it, but yeah, I was like, oh man, buddy, you're putting a bigger target on your back.
It's one thing if you look like Cochran, and you win a challenge. People are like, it's Cochran. Like, he got lucky. Hunter, like, oh no, Hunter's really good and he's rubbing in our faces. So, yeah.
Even Q pointed it out tonight. He was like, why didn't we all sit out for Rice? Like, obviously no one was going to beat Hunter. So, yeah,
Q's right, but as we've kind of talked about all season, and it's become more apparent as we've gotten later in the season, is how the way Q approaches things is very much like Q's way or the highway, or militaristic was the word I used. Like, kind of talks like a lot of people in the military I knew. So, all right, well, we should probably go through things in order. I'm kind of jumping ahead. That's on me. I'm a bad host. Bad host. All right.
Hey, at least you've seen Survivor before.
This is also my first episode.
Oh. Really?
Yeah, ignore the channel existing for 4.5 years. That was my doppelganger. All right, so Ben is bummed about Tim being gone. Apparently, they were really close. Now, I say apparently because sure, it was established that they were like together, but it was never really made a point of prior to. Feels like this moment in the vote off. What about you? Did you feel that or do you feel differently?
Yeah, I think we saw them kind of, off doing their own thing while other people were strategizing and playing the game and stuff. And that's not to say that they weren't strategizing or whatever, but we just didn't see it. And so, yeah, it wasn't like too surprising that he was upset by that. But also, I don't know, it wasn't very surprising in the sense that like, it's not like, oh, now Ben's game is ruined now that Tim is gone. Because I just don't think Ben really is going to make it all the way to the end, honestly, at this point. So, it wasn't too surprising, but I don't know that it's really going to impact the game that much.
Well, I guess the point of me bringing it up, interesting to see Ben won't go to the end because This is part of our integrating winner analysis into the whole podcast for those who skip ahead. Haha. Ben, I feel like this is important because it doesn't mean Ben won't go to the end by any means, but I do think that if Ben was the winner, which is all we're really trying to figure out, who's second place, who's third place, I'm not as interested in. I'm more interested in who wins. And I think this helps that Ben, I think if this shows that Ben isn't going to win, because if Ben was going to win, it would show, oh, Ben needs to avenge his fallen comrade and Tim. But Tim was an unimportant character on the show, except for like 2 episodes. And then we weren't really shown how close Ben and Tim were in the sense of making the scene have any impact. So for me, this actually not tanks, but hurts Ben's chances for winning, because if Ben was going to win, I feel like the Ben and Tim thing would have been built up more. So when Tim goes, we feel emotional for Ben and we understand this moment. But here I'm like, oh yeah, I mean, I guess you and Tim were close. Okay. Like, that's how I felt, at least. I mean, Tim literally went 2 episodes of that confessional.
Yeah.
On a season that has 90-minute episodes and 2-hour episodes, like insane amount of time, they still are like, Tim's not that important. And Tim is I mean, if you know, that's all I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like Ben's been mentioned a couple times as people have said like, oh, he's too likable. He's too social. Like he can't get to the end. So yeah. And I think that was brought up again in this episode. So I agree. I don't think he's going to make it to the end because I just don't think people will let him get to the end at this point. Yeah.
I mean, Ben is becoming a bigger threat for sure. He'll definitely move up the rankings. I feel like we've been, I don't know, snuffing him is the wrong word, but definitely snubbing. There we go. Snubbing him for too long. He should at least be middle of the pack, I think now. We'll see tomorrow when all of us talk together and rank. But anyways, so he's bummed that Tim is gone, and Q is mad. What else is new? That they are wasting time talking with Ben, aka people are doing social bonding and Q wants to talk strategy. He says the words, I am a game changer. Now, I don't know if Q has seen season 34, but it's generally not well regarded. And it typically does not fare very well on the season rankings we do every year. And I don't think it's done well in other, like Rob's podcast did a ranking. I don't think Game Changers did very well there either. Trying to think of other people who have done season rankings where like the fans vote, where it's like some sort of where it's like a collective group thought. Game Changer is typically pretty low. So anyways, he wants to be a game changer, and I'm like, I mean, here's the thing: Q has definitely changed this game, but it's not a positive thing.
No, it is not.
That's my point. I'm not saying he's not a game changer. I'm saying calling yourself game changer after season 34 is kind of not a positive thing actually anymore.
Yeah.
Survivor, I think, has distanced itself enough from that season to be able to acknowledge that season was I can't believe that season was 2016. Can you? That was so long ago.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Can you believe we're talking about 8 years ago for that season? Wow.
Yeah. And it's funny because like I understand why people don't like that season because and we don't need to get too sidetracked with this, but that was one of the early seasons that I watched, and I loved it. And I think I just loved it because I'm a fan of like Sarah, and I don't know, like there were definitely some things in that season that like the boot order was like not the best because there were some people who went way too early, and so that was like a little disappointing. But
Tony being gone second is a travesty.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
But it got made up for in Winter's War. Anyways,
true.
You'll never guess that we sometimes get comments saying, Wesley, you get so sidetracked talking about other things. And it's like, welcome to my personality. I know. I have to live with this every day. I know.
Imagine being me.
I know. I'm in the future also. All right. So people expected Venus to be gone. The people like the other group that didn't go tribal with Venus were like, Venus is gone. Obviously, let's figure out what our next move is. So it's funny when Venus shows up. She then publicly calls out Tevin in front of everybody. Venus kind of does this a lot, actually.
Yeah. Venus is such a messy player. Like, she's so entertaining to watch. I understand why people are frustrated with like trying to play the game with her, but like just from an entertainment perspective, she did a couple of really just entertaining things tonight.
She got lucky that Nami won all of their pre-merge tribal, all the pre-merge immunities, because there's no way she would make it to post-merge. Had that happen. Like, had they gone to 1, I think Venus was gone. So she got lucky she made it to this part of the game, because this part of the game is the part of the game where people play what Q calls old Survivor, when you want to bring goats to the end.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't know, but here's the thing. Q's right. That is old Survivor. Like trying to get the ends. Next people don't really want to vote for you. AKA the Boston Rob method that Q's trying to do. That's what Boston Rob did. Bring goats to the end. That's old Survivor. New Survivor, Rebekah, is quitting. That's new Survivor.
That's so funny.
Catch up.
Yeah.
Catch up. If you want to win this game, you got to quit. All right. Hannah and Sean taught us this, and Q's reiterating it. You got to quit to win. It's so mind bending. I can't even comprehend it. And I just started watching Survivor today.
They're out here playing 4D chess. Like,
I don't even know what 4D chess is. That's from another season or something. Did somebody mention that? I don't know.
Yeah, it is actually. It's a spinoff of Deal or No Deal Island. So.
Oh, by the way, that show. I haven't even watched the episodes in quite a bit because I don't have the subscription to that service. But Boss Rob's still safe, and I'm like, what is going on? Why are people letting him get this far again? Anyway, so what is going on? Up is down, left is right. Q shows a Q skirt, and he says, "You buy 3, you get 1 free." Now we spent a lot of time in the Q skirt, and I don't think I fully comprehend because it looked like the hood was backwards. How does it hold anything? Am I missing something?
I was also very confused by that, but maybe it was just because like the prototype wasn't super clear. I'm waiting for him to like, I don't know, has he actually released this merch? Because I would love to see what it actually looks like and how much it costs.
I think we need a 2.0 version of it.
Yes.
Well, it'd be weird if Q had made a Q skirt and then didn't know if it was going to make the show or not. Like they could have cut this out. This didn't have to be in the show.
That's true.
They do many silly things out there. I bet you they didn't even know hide and seek was going to make the show. You know what I mean? Like who knew that was going to make it? I almost forgot. And it's not. So today's podcast is unfortunately still not sponsored by Liz. I don't think she's legally allowed to sponsor us probably till after the season's over.
That's fair.
Though if she does hear this, I don't care if it's 40 several. I will still. I don't care what season. It'll be funny later. So anyways, Liz says she wanted Soda gone the whole time and she hates sharing credit with Tevin and Venus. And I said, of course Liz hates sharing. You don't get rich from sharing. No one gets rich from that.
She did also say something about when you have a huge ego like I do, you don't like sharing credit. And I was like, well, at least she's self-aware, you know?
You know, and how did she get that huge ego? She paid for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
In cold hard cash. Some people have unearned ego, you know? Us, for example. Liz, she earned it. She earned it. Wall Street calls Liz for advice. All right. Get it right, people. Now, not men on Wall Street.
Liz has probably seen Survivor before, too.
Probably. Not the men on Wall Street, though. Just the women, because no man can handle Liz. All right.
Of course.
As long as everyone remembers this. Only you, Rebekah, can handle her, not me. Charlie says Q is dangerous, and he is staying on his good side and finds out about the 6. Now, there's so much talk about the 6, but that's just it. There's just a lot of talk because last week and then this week, I'm like, the 6 means nothing. Why are we talking about it like it's so often when at the vote, it literally makes no difference? Right?
Yeah, and it is interesting because like...
Even Q voted for Tevin tonight.
Yeah, yeah. Which is, that's very interesting. But I did like that as much as everyone's talking about the 6, Charlie is the one who said the 6 is a shaky 6. I think he said something about like, you know, it's an alliance in the loosest sense of the word. And so like that was his immediate impression, like the first time that he heard about the 6. And so
it's not even a 6. Tim is gone.
Yeah, exactly. And that was kind of his point. He's like, oh, I guess I'm getting pulled into this 6 because they already voted someone out. And then tonight, they did the same thing. So yeah, to me, I was like, I did like that we saw Charlie being that observant, I guess. Like as soon as he hears about this alliance, he immediately like understands what's going on, which I think does speak to his social gameplay. So we'll see where that goes.
The 6 is now 4 of their own volition. And I don't know why it gets brought up all the time, but if Q's mad that the 6 still isn't together next week, like get out of here. Get out of here. Like you were responsible. Even Q quitting tonight would have hurt the 6 that he cares about so dearly.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and he wanted to vote for Tiffany, and she was in the 6,
Now,
right? So
this is my first time watching Survivor. Is this something Q is this thing that Q did? Is this like a common thing that happens on the show?
When he tried to quit?
I know it's also your first time watching Survivor.
Yes.
So we're kind of just two newbies. But you think in the past 45 seasons, somebody else has like quit?
Yeah, I don't think legally that's allowed. I think Liz is the only one who could afford the fee for quitting, because I think it is, if you quit, it's $1 million.
Oh, you have to give $1 million to the show. Okay.
Yes.
I didn't know that was the rules. So I was actually, I know we're jumping ahead a little bit, but Q talked about, it wasn't talked about tonight, but he did talk about twice during the pre-merge, if I recall, just the thought of quitting. And we all talked about like, why did they leave this in the show if it doesn't ever happen? And I think tonight was the payoff.
Yeah.
I don't think he's quitting, but I think tonight was the payoff.
Yeah. And it also, to me, just, I mean, I don't know. To me, I'm like, a winner doesn't threaten to quit.
No, Q isn't winning.
It's also,
the jury's not going to respect this.
I think we talked about it last time when he said that, but that was back on the Yanu beach and there were only 2 people there to observe it.
Yeah, it was Kenzie and Tiffany.
Tonight was like so public in front of everyone, including the jury, which is just Jeff. Soda right now. But including Jeff. Like, so this, I think I agree. It was the payoff, and there's little to no way that Q is winning at this point.
Oh, brother. Okay, so all right. Just like I don't even know what to say. So Charlie does have some good advice in this episode. Sunrise conversations are key. That's good. If anybody here, I don't know if they're already filming 40 Several. I don't think they are. I think that's later this month or next month. Don't quote me on that. But those who are in 40 Several should already know that if they're listening to this by chance. They should know when they're filming. If you're in 40 Several or 48, Survivor 48, then you keep this in mind. Sunrise conversations, apparently. This is important. I didn't know it was that important because I tend to sleep in a little bit, but I'm just not naturally a morning person. But maybe in Survivor, I'm only here for 26 days. Got to take advantage of every moment I get. Wake up for sunrise. That's when the important conversation's happening.
Maybe this is me just not being a morning person, but when he said sunrise, I was kind of picturing like the sun being up during this conversation, but it looked like pitch black outside. This had to be like, I don't know, very early in the morning. So
I know in past
too early for me.
I've complained how it's like, why is there never any footage of things happening at night anymore? Like, are the cameramen not there? So this is some proof that there are cameramen there, and apparently nothing interesting enough is worth showing. But here we actually saw something, and I'm appreciative because I'm like, there's no way that nobody's doing anything at night. Like, come on, nothing all the time. Is there a rule about this? Because it used to be all the time people would stay up and talk, or that's when some of the most secretive conversations would happen. Some of the important conversations, heck, going far back to season 2 in my mind, with Jerry and Colby talking. And Jerry's like, yeah, Colby, you want to be on our side and vote with us because I'm so in lust with you? And Colby's like, yes, of course, Jerry. And then he cuts to confessional. He's like, I don't like Jerry at all. and I don't like lying, but for her, I'll lie to her. So it's like, it's important going back to at least season 2. So my point is that I appreciate the nighttime talk. I love when we have nighttime scenes. I don't like when they forced it. Remember when they used to have them like sneak into the other camp and steal some of their fire? Like literally wasting time in a 60-minute episode. Thank goodness that's gone.
Yes.
That was such a waste. That was a waste of time. All right. That was so dumb. I can't even believe they did that. All right. So anyways, I can't believe it, but like at the same time, like they didn't have time for that nonsense. All right. So Liz finds Q and all right. He says she is here to play. Oh, sorry. Hide and seek. My bad. I jumped ahead a couple notes.
Yes.
We're going to play hide and seek. This is a whole thing. And I like that it was a whole thing, by the way. Charlie ends up being it. At some point, Q's picking between Liz and Charlie. I guess there was a whole selection process we missed. Because at one point he's doing eeny, meeny, miny, mo between 2 people. But as usual, Q is in charge of everything. Charlie ends up being it. Liz is the first one found, mind you. Yes. When you have gold bars and the sun's out,
it's just reflective.
It's too much reflection. Even Tiffany's red buff didn't get found before Liz's gold bars, okay? It's just the way the world works. So Liz gets found first, but she ends up finding Q. And Q's like, oh, she's here to play. Big mistake. She's here to play. Because she found me in a game of hide and seek. While, by the way, Liz was doing it very casually. Liz wasn't like running around. She was like casually walking. Because Liz hasn't needed to run in years because when you're rich, you can show up late to everything. Who cares? All right.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes,
Yeah,
Hunter and Ben win this game, and apparently they made a mistake.
Yeah. This is the thing. I love the messy way that Q is playing this game because he is just looking for people to make mistakes and like trying to create traps for people. Like
Everything's
this
a trap
like,
for Q.
It is. He's like, oh, my idea to play hide and seek. Everyone thinks it's just a fun little game.
It's a trap.
I'm looking for clues. It's a trap. And yeah, like the whole Liz thing when he was like, oh, big mistake. Like that really struck me as like, it reminded me of the Mariah thing when she said that Aubrey was her favorite player and he's like,
oh, yes.
huge mistake. It's just, this is how Q is playing the game.
Don't say,
and I'm so here for it.
You could say nothing to Q and it would be a huge mistake. You could say anything to Q, it would be a huge mistake. Everything's a huge mistake. It's whatever Q wants. There's a secret scene last week that Mary and I talked about. I don't know if you got to see it, but it's of Q and he lists everybody in the game and he says why everyone's a massive threat. Everyone's a massive threat. With the exception of Liz, he doesn't really have a good grasp of Liz. Right. And that was a secret scene. And we were like, why? Mary and I were like, this is why I'm glad this was cut from the show because it's kind of like nonsense the way Q's talking to everybody. It's because they were saving that nonsense for this week. I think they were holding off last week to save it for this hide and seek scene because this is a much more visual.
Maximum nonsense.
Yeah, maximum nonsense. Exactly. It's not just a Q confessional. This is a whole game along with him saying everybody's made mistakes. Everybody.
Yes.
Everybody. Q. Even everybody. So.
Has Q made mistakes according to him?
No.
Even threatening to quit, that's not a mistake?
I mean, no, he wanted to quit.
Okay.
He wanted to quit, but he didn't want any of the shame that went with it.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you quit post-jury, now, of course, first episode I've ever seen, but what I've heard and read online is that that apparently some people did this in the past, and Jeff said after that he will not snuff their torch. I don't know why anybody would ever quit, but he won't snuff your torch if you quit. But also, if you do it the post-merge game, you don't make the jury anymore after season 21 Nicaragua. When the two people quit post-merge, and then they got to stay on the jury. Apparently, the rules now, if you quit post-jury, you don't get to stay on the jury. So, my question is, had Q actually quit? He didn't, but had he actually quit, that would have thrown off the numbers of the jury. The jury wouldn't be 8, it'd be 7. Now, I think that's probably still fine because you still can't have a tie.
Yeah.
So, they're probably okay. They probably wouldn't do any like final 2 twists or nothing like that. But
yeah.
I want to throw that out there that I wonder if that would have changed anything having Q quit. I probably not because there still would be a tie. Yeah,
I don't think it would have because if you do a final 2 twist, then if my math is right, you'd have 8 people on the jury and you could end up with a tie.
Yeah, so that would be a mistake.
And I don't think they'd bring Tim onto the jury because he's missed a tribal.
No, Tim's off the island by now. These people who went the pre-merge go on a trip or they go home. I forget which one. I don't know. I feel like in the budget era, they probably go home. But back before 41, I think everyone pre-jury went on trips. I know they went on trips for...
Okay.
I know that in season 2, Kimmy Kappenberg did an interview where she's like, we went to... we were in Australia. Their season was Australia. I think they either stayed in Australia or they went to an Asian country. I'm sorry, I don't know which Asian country it was if they went, or they stayed in Australia, but they may have went to a whole different park because it's massive. And she said that she had a handler watching her. Of course, this is season 2 and they had a big budget. And she said she was able to evade her handler for like 3 or 4 days and just go do whatever she wanted. And then eventually caught back up with their handler. And that was just okay. And I'm like, wow.
That's iconic.
Imagine if she died.
Now, granted, that was back... I guess probably not pre-cell phones,
that was pre-9/11 though.
Well, true, yes. Wow, was it that long ago?
Yeah, it was filmed pre-9/11. So, I mean, after season 3 was also filmed pre-9/11, it just aired post-9/11. My point being is that they went on trips back then. I remember the All-Stars cast went somewhere and they got the pre-merge book order got spoiled because somebody took a picture of the All-Stars pre-mergers on their trip. So anyways, they used to take trips. I don't think in the budget era they do that anymore. They might. I don't know. I mean, I don't see why they couldn't just go to a different part of Fiji or whatever, but whatever. It costs money, I guess, is the reason. So anyways, point being is that Tim wouldn't be there to be on the jury.
Yes.
So they're not going to do a final 2. But anyways, getting way off topic. I've never heard anyone mention this to me before. So
I think that it's right that the podcast episode reflects the episode, and with this episode being so chaotic, what I'm saying is I think the podcast episode also needs to be more chaotic So the rabbit trails are leaning into
There's
that.
no way anyone comes out of this podcast and doesn't learn something new coming out of my mouth.
Yes.
With the amount of random stuff I'm spewing tonight. Like, if you knew the Kimmy Kappenberg thing, it's impressive. You probably do know everything, because that's probably the deepest cut I'm going to throw out tonight. But who knows? I got another hour to talk. Who knows what else will come out?
See what happens.
See what happens, exactly. Only Liz could pay me to shut up. So, Venus talks to Kevin. Sorry, to Tevin. Kevin talks to Tevin, and she's like, she's like looking for compliments for her move. And Tevin's, I mean, I know Tevin goes tonight, but Tevin looks like the better player still.
Yeah.
This whole conversation. Can you tell everyone what it's about?
Yeah. So, yeah, she basically like sits Tevin down and she's like, do you want to know like how I pulled off this amazing blindside? And he's like, I would love to hear. And so she tells him like, you know, oh, like I went and talked to a bunch of people and, you know, did all the things. And this is how I pulled off the move. This is how you were so blindsided. And as soon as she leaves, Tevin just starts busting up laughing.
But he compliments her and she's like, oh, he doesn't even know how to play this game.
Yes. Yeah. She's like, oh, she's giving him advice. She's like, listen, if you want to like make it to the end of this game, like this is how you need to start playing. You got to start thinking, because I think she asked him like, what's your strategy moving forward? And obviously he's not going to tell her anything. So he's like, oh, I don't know. I just kind of take it moment by moment. And she's like, well, you really need to have a strategy for the end game. Otherwise, you're not going to make it to the end.
I mean, she wasn't wrong.
The things she's saying are correct, but like you said, the way that the show is presenting this moment to us is that Tevin is the smart player, Venus is the dumb player, which I did think was really interesting too, because like, so Tevin said at some point, I don't remember if it was here or if it was earlier in the episode, but he was basically like, look, because Venus like took credit for the whole soda vote in front of everybody. And Tevin was like, look, I don't need the credit right now. I will take the credit in my, you know, my final tribal speech, basically. And I thought that was interesting. I think it is a good strategy, but it is kind of funny that now that Tevin got voted out, I mean, there were other people who were involved in that vote, but like, for all intents and purposes, like Venus got credit for the soda vote. And I'm not saying that's necessarily like a good thing long term for her, but yeah, it is interesting that like, I don't know, I'm sure Tevin will bring it up in the final tribal if she happens to be there.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know. So anyway, for now, Venus has credit for that.
Well, only in her mind, because Liz goes to the jury too. She'll back up. I mean, Liz, the final 3, she'll back up that, Venus had no idea. In fact, Liz says both Tevin and Venus need to shut up. She says that.
Yeah. She did, yeah. She did. And also she started getting kind of annoyed with Tevin this episode, and I think, was she the first one to suggest voting for Tevin?
Liz hasn't had food in like 16 days, and they didn't even get rice. Yes. Liz is ticked.
Yeah.
Liz is ticked.
Yeah.
Liz is going off, and I love it. This is Liz's breakout episode. I jokingly texted that to you thinking she was getting skunked. I had no idea.
Yes.
I had no idea.
Yeah. It actually, she got a lot of focus tonight.
I don't really know what the confessional count is. We'll talk about that tomorrow, but my goodness, did Liz go off tonight? Well, you had a question. I totally ignored it. What was it?
Was she the first one to throw out voting for Tevin? I can't remember if she said it first, but she definitely mentioned it early in the episode. She was like, I want Tevin gone.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, Liz got her way.
When there's 90 minutes of talking and I'm taking notes as it's going, sometimes I miss things. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know if that's important because it's all in the moment. So I don't have that note of who said Tevin's name first. I'm sure we'll get a well actually in the comments. So look out everyone for that well actually to correct us. But I don't know if Liz probably did, but I really don't know who threw it out first. Not that it really matters. Yeah. It'll only matter if this sense of being like who needs credit, if somebody needs to take credit for it, I guess. But
yeah. I just thought it was interesting because I feel like this episode is sort of the first one where we're hearing Liz talk about strategy. Yeah. I mean, we've probably heard something from her before, but like, generally just haven't been hearing a ton from her. So in this episode, I just thought it was like, somewhat noteworthy. I think she was the first one to mention it looking at my notes, but your obviously someone can correct us in the comments.
No, don't worry. There's always a well actually. All right. So I will say that Tevin was the only one I recall in the pre-merge pointing out how Liz being rich is a negative. Well, Tevin's gone. So if Liz reaches final 3, is that going to stop Tevin from voting for her?
Probably.
Liz final 3, come on, make it happen. Somebody commented last week, they're like, the most chaotic thing that would happen for this podcast is if Venus and Liz are both in final 3, and I agree. I mean, it just means whoever's sitting next to them both wins. Whoever's sitting next to both of them wins, obviously. Unless it's Q.
Yes.
Then we have truly reached peak nonsense. If it is a Q, Venus, Liz final 3, that's probably the perfect final 3, and people can start comparing this to Gabon proper. Like at that point, if that's our final 3, that is a fair comparison to make. That is a chaotic final 3. Liz,
that's
Venus, and Q. Mm-hmm. I would love it. At the moment, I would love it. I don't know. I feel like there's no Q makes it to the end, but at the same time, like, who's going to vote for the guy who tried to quit?
I feel like the idea of that is very entertaining, but actually watching it play out would be kind of a letdown. Like the ending of the season.
Chaos. I root for chaos.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, you want the winner to be like someone that it's like, oh yeah, this person, like, I understand why they won. Like, they deserve to win. And I feel like out of the 3 of them, I would not be happy with any of them winning this season.
I mean, we got I understand how do they won with D. We got it with Jam Jam. We got Marianne. Don't we need a Gabler every once in a while? That's all I'm saying. Can't Liz win this season? Is that too much to ask?
See, I think you just appreciate different things in winners than I do, because I was not happy with the Gabler vote. But that's just my opinion. That's just what I enjoy watching on TV. So
I've seen. Okay, I have a confession. This is not my first episode ever. I have seen all 46 seasons. I've seen every season prior to 46 multiple times.
Nerd. Okay.
Thank you. Somebody commented once. They're like, what season have you not ever rewatched? And I'm like, I've rewatched them all. I literally, it's part of my job. I've probably rewatched every season. Right. I don't know. Except at 45, I will admit every season of the new era, I've only rewatched once. But prior to the new era, I've probably rewatched every season 2 or 3 times. So on top of the initial watch, I mean. So point being is I've seen them all multiple times, and I've seen enough winners where like I get it, or I've seen boring winners. I'm chaos. I root for chaos. A Fabio winning a season is chaos. Okay. Yeah. Fabio should not have won on any standard season, but he wasn't on a standard season. He was on Nicaragua. Bob winning Gabon is like, okay, I guess. Like, like this is the chaos.
I think my thing is I love chaos within the season. Like, this episode was peak entertainment.
You just don't want chaos in the winner.
I want the winner to be like valid. Like, if you're going to give someone $1 million, I want it to be like, yeah, they deserve that for whatever reason.
Every winner deserves it. I just like a winner who deserves it with chaos attached. The more chaos, the better. But I understand I'm not like the general audience.
I guess I just don't want it to feel random or like, oh, well, it's just because there was no other choice. But I guess that's the game of Survivor. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's just a me thing.
Here you go. You got Q, Liz, and Venus in final 3. Nobody's voting for Venus because she's just rude to people. No one's voting for Q because he tried to quit and because he's rude. Liz, though, let's put it this way, okay? Is she rich? We all can agree, yes. We know Liz has more money than any of us will ever see in our lifetime. That's obvious. So I think I would feel confident giving her a vote for $1 million because I know she's going to wisely use the $1 million, because you don't get rich by wasting money and sharing with others. You get rich by hoarding your wealth and smartly investing it. And I know that $1 million for Liz will not go wasted.
Yeah. And taking it to the island with you.
Yes. When you have so much money, you can bring gold bars and hide and seek. Okay. That says everything. She couldn't go very far in the jungle. She was carrying around those gold bars. She was the first one found for that reason. All right.
Yeah, she was just barely off the walking
This
path.
is what they get when they give us like 3 Liz confessionals. We start going like, oh, we got Liz content. Now we can go crazy. Like when they give us nothing, we were still joking. But now that we've actually gotten some content, it's like, yes, feed me.
It's still just one bit, but we're going to hound this bit until it dies.
Dude, I've seen other podcasts, and I've even seen it now on like posts and stuff. It's like the Liz jokes have really increased. Like at first, nobody was on the Liz train. I think we were probably first. I don't want to say we're the first, but we probably were. And then I feel like we were, if not, we were very early. Somebody's like, I think another podcast is a bigger fan of Liz than you are because they're now joking about it. I'm like, we've been here since day, I don't know, was it 4?
Go back. We got the receipts.
We got the receipts. It was like episode 2. I don't know. I think it was like episode 2. Anyways, sorry. Let's get off our high horse, our gold horse.
Never.
So there's some talk about should we vote Venus, and Tiffany's like, Venus has no power, we should keep her, which I agree with. So we can kind of skip some of this notes here, but I will say that the way Q is playing here pre-immunity challenge is shades of Boston Rob. So when he compared Banu to Philip Shepard and himself to Boston Rob, I don't think that was like an accident. I think that's how Q really is trying to play this game, because people are talking about how Q has to control things and how he needs to, how it's Q's way of the highway, basically, which is Boston Rob style.
Yeah. And I thought this moment was particularly interesting because it seemed like the reason that he was so upset by Tiffany not wanting to vote out Venus, there were a couple reasons. One was obviously she mentioned Maria as someone to vote out, and Maria's in the 6 Alliance, so Q wasn't happy with that. But he also was just talking about that Tiffany might be looking at Venus as a goat to take to the end. And it was interesting that he was not happy with that strategy from Tiffany, because he's like, oh no, we need to bring competitors to the end. But like you said, he was planning on doing that same thing with Banu. Like if Banu had made it to the merge with them, like I think Q would have tried to drag him to the
Banu's
end as a goat.
There's so many goats this season.
And so, yeah, there are. And so like, yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting that like, again, no one can do anything right in Q's eyes. Like everything everyone does is a big mistake. And so like Tiffany wanting to bring a goat to the end is a huge mistake, even though that has been Q's strategy already in this season.
Q today was like, I told Hunter the wrong thing. Big mistake. I gotta go. It's like, that's how it went tonight. Yeah. We didn't get that confessional, but Q was basically like, big mistake, Q. You gotta go, to himself, you know? Like, I'll give Q credit. It's like equal, it's fair play, you know? Like, he's no bias. Everyone has made a big mistake and everyone has to go, including himself. And he is a man of his word. If he thinks he made a big mistake, he needs to go.
If he ends up on the jury, do you think he's going to like vote for Jeff or something? He's like, I can't vote for anyone. Everyone needs to go.
He's like, I'm voting for whoever here makes the least of a big mistake.
Yeah.
I'll come up with a better way of saying that joke. But anyways, that's the point. He's like, Q definitely was, I think that's why I mean, don't be wrong. I don't buy what he said, but I do believe that he probably beats himself up. I get that vibe. Of course, I think he's also said that, but he kind of beats himself up. And the big mistake thing is not just for other people. I think it's also for Q. Q probably does that to himself too. So big mistake.
Yeah. Didn't he have I don't know if it was actually a sob story, but he talked about like, growing up and having like pressures to be perfect all the time.
We haven't had a sob story in like 5 episodes.
It's been so long.
It's amazing. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
Also, I'm kind of worried that our options are going to be between like 3 or 4 people if they don't change that. And those people, I'm kind of like, I mean, one of them is Hunter. I'll give that. But one of them was Tevin and he's gone. So it's not like a guarantee or anything. I think we got like Ben,
unless
Maria,
they're using that as
and Hunter.
Unless maybe they're using it as a red herring this season. So it doesn't, like the winner doesn't have one. Might be kind of weird, but
I think there's 4 or 5 people with one. I know 3 of them are Hunter, Ben, and Maria. Is that our final 3? I mean, there's probably one more. Well, just wait for the actually comment. You'll see him.
Yeah.
But anyways, so point being is that they haven't had one so long. Maybe we need to. We'll see. It's just been so chaotic this post merge. It wasn't like 45's post merge was kind of predictable in the sense of like, all right, we kind of know where this is going. It was good. It was just kind of like we know where this is going. Like everything's lining up. 46 has been a mess in a good way. So.
Yes.
All right, we go to the immunity challenge, Rebekah. Tell everyone what happens.
Yes. So the challenge is a classic. Hang on to a pole for as long as you can. And that's pretty much it. But what was interesting, or one of the interesting parts of this challenge was before they started, Jeff gave them a chance to win a bag of rice. So he said, you have 2 options. Either we can have 4 people sit out of the challenge, and then I'll give you this giant bag of rice. Or 2 people can give up their vote at Tribal and still compete in the challenge, so you still get to compete for immunity. But if you give up your vote at Tribal, then you get the bag of rice if 2 people do.
Yeah.
And so pretty immediately, Q steps forward. He's willing to sit out. Liz sort of reluctantly steps forward. And I think mostly for her, she was saying it was because she like hasn't eaten anything this whole time, basically. Like, she's allergic to so much stuff. So even like some of the rewards and stuff she hasn't been able to eat. So she really wanted the rice. So the 2 of them step forward, and then Charlie says like, he's like, okay, if I step forward, will someone else step forward with me, basically?
Mm-hmm.
And then, Q is like trying to convince him, like, hey, like just step forward, and then if no one else does, then we'll just go back and we'll compete. But Charlie is just like, no, I'm not gonna step forward. So Jeff counts down from 10. I really wanted him to stab the bag of rice again.
Oh, yes.
That was just so funny when he did that last time.
I mean, that would have helped.
Yes. But this time he just calmly counts down from 10, which was fine. I guess this episode had enough chaos.
Also, repeating jokes just doesn't, it's not ever going to be as good as the first time.
That's
Jeff,
also fair.
The second time needs to take a lighter and burn the bag.
Yes. Or like, what if he has like a sword or something? Like,
no,
he just has to up the size of the weapon.
Yeah, but the sword's just doing the knife again. You got to do so. Burning is a different step. It's also way more chaotic. Just figure out. Other people might have suggestions. But I'm saying something where Jeff can. I mean, the fire, like literally, it will light a fire into people. Your rice is literally cooking in front of your eyes, not the way you want.
Yes.
I don't know. Fire is not the end all be all, but it does represent your life in this game. It also represents your rice being burned. But Jeff needs to have a good one-liner to go with this. Away. Yeah, he needs to have a good one-liner to go with his burning of the rice. That's the only way to go about it. It wasn't. Yeah. I did have to step out real quick during this rice negotiation. Was it hanging from anything again or no?
No, he just like set it on a table. So just kind of sitting there. But it was a pretty big bag of rice. Like he said it was enough to last the rest of the game, and it seemed like a decent amount. So but sadly no one else stepped forward, so they ended up not getting the rice, and everyone competed. And in the competition, in the challenge, Q was out like almost immediately, and then Liz was right behind him. So I don't know if that was because they like gave up. Like I don't know. Q definitely seemed to think that Hunter was gonna win. Like it didn't look like they fully just like didn't even try, but it was like, I don't know, they were the two who wanted to sit out. Q has kind of been known for throwing temper tantrums when things don't go his way.
No.
So it wasn't like a big show or anything, but it kind of felt like he just didn't want to compete because he was mad that they didn't get the rice. And I'm not sure if it was the same thing with Liz or if she just was out immediately, but people, were in for a decent amount of time. Towards the end, I got down to Venus, Hunter, and Charlie were really kind of the final three. Venus ended up dropping, and so it was a showdown between Charlie and Hunter. And Jeff, I think, he said, what was the phrase he said? He referenced like long live or something. What did he say? He said
we're 7 minutes into the challenge or several minutes into the challenge.
Oh yes, he brought up the several thing.
Yeah.
And then he also like almost referenced a Taylor Swift song. It was unintentional, but Charlie was like, "Are you referencing Taylor Swift? Like Long Live and Speak Now, I think was the other one, and there's something else." So yeah, a couple of just like, I don't know, random references. Like this moment, again, this is part of what I'm really enjoying about this season.
Yes,
is
Taylor
that
Swift,
like,
we know.
Well, Taylor Swift, but also just like in the challenges, like as much as they're all taking it seriously and like competing, like this was a showdown between Charlie and Hunter, but also like, I don't know, they're just having fun with it, And I appreciate that. Like Charlie started like, he was like shaking his arm out at one point, and everyone started like going like, "Yeah, Charlie, shake it off, Taylor Swift song, And so I don't know, that stuff is just fun. I don't know. It's just entertaining.
Boring. All right. So Hunter wins immunity. Thankfully, it wasn't Charlie. I would never hear the end of it. This one's for Taylor Swift. All right, buddy. By the way, I think Taylor Swift's okay. I just think it's funny you really like her. So I got to be the opposite. I got to be the bad cop, the bad Taylor Swift.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So Hunter
please do. Haters gonna hate. That's a Taylor Swift reference.
Yeah. I got to tell you, some of the songs seem like they're written by 40-year-old men thinking what people thought other people would like, and hey, they worked. To be fair though, a lot of artists have other people write their songs, so I'm not just knocking Taylor.
Yes, and not to talk too much about Taylor Swift, but go listen to Evermore. You will hear less cookie cutter lyrics and actual poetry. Okay, we can move on now.
Listen to Coldplay, they're better. Okay. Actually, no, that's a whole different debate. All right, different music, I know. So Q is so mad about those rice negotiations that happened. But I want to mentor Hunter winning. We said this leading into the merge. We're like, Hunter's basically gonna have to win out on immunities. And I think after Tevin going tonight and after him showing off in that poll, he's really gonna have to win out on immunities and then play his idol at some point.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, I thought it was funny when he like leaned back because he like, so he was holding onto the pole with his arms and his legs, and then once he won, he let go with his arms and was like, leaning back on the pole, like you said. And Jeff seemed genuinely concerned. Like I think Jeff thought he was like falling or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, he was just stretching.
Well, had Hunter let go of the pole, he would fall on his head. So yeah, I'd be concerned too.
Yeah.
Challenge is already dangerous enough as it is.
I mean, Hunter's also like climbing up in trees for hide and seek.
Jeff wasn't there for that.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Do you think the
producers were telling Jeff, oh, by the way, out of all the things we have to tell you, we got to tell you about the hide and seek game they played. I bet you that was a decision made later. I'm sure that was not at all important in anybody's mind in terms of the production team. They filmed it, sure, but they filmed everything, you know? So is Jeff up to date on the hide and seeks? I don't know. But anyways, point being is Hunter's got a big threat, a big target. He's a big threat. He's a big target on his back.
Yeah.
So, and he needs 4 individual immunity wins to make the Challenge Beast list. I would say I don't make the rules, but I literally made the rules for that video. It is a 45-minute video, and I am not expanding upon it until somebody else meets the threshold that everyone else meets. Because I got somebody commenting like, you got to add Hunter to this list. Hunter hadn't had 1 win at that point. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then somebody else said, you got to add Jonathan to this list from 42. I'm like, Jonathan, did he even get like 1? He got like 1 win maybe. I forgot how many wins he got. Well, actually, he got 2. So anyways, I don't know how many he got. Point being is that no one has had 4 since season 40. And I'm looking forward to it. I really hope somebody does. So I have a reason to update / remake, though I really think I would need more than one person to make the list to remake the whole video because I don't have the old copy anywhere. Oh, this is a fun fact for anyone listening. At some point, like an idiot, me being the idiot, I accidentally purged every video I made prior to my season 12 Exile Island story videos. Yeah, so like every video, every script, everything. I don't have any of the originals. Whatever's on YouTube is what's on YouTube. So I can recreate. So it's like some videos, it's like, oh, it'd be so easy to slap, for example. So on the Patreon, which we'll talk about later, I'm making Rupert Bonham's Heroes vs. Villains video. So it seems so obvious. I've already made his Amazing Race video. I've already made his All-Stars video, his Pearl Islands video. And thankfully I do have a backup of his All-Stars and Pearl Islands video. But I don't have a backup of his Amazing Race video. So I gotta remake that one if I'm doing a Rise and Fall video for him. I know. So I kind of dug myself a hole. So anyways, that's a fun fact that I don't think even Mary knew that because why give her that stress? Though I might have told her. I don't know. I'm sure I told her and she's like, oh, that sucks. It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Losing files is the worst, but happens to the best of us.
I learned my lesson. Thankfully. All right, so moving on, we do need to wrap this up, Rebekah. You really go off on tangents. So we're going to go back to camp. We're about to breeze through some of this. This is a lot of nonsense because what's most important, I think, is what happens later. Q is so mad about the rice negotiations, whatever. Tevin says Tiffany will be blindsided tonight. We know that's not true. Ben wants to get out Tevin. So that's the first time I have Tevin's name written down. But I'm not saying Liz didn't mention it first, but I have Ben. I wrote down Ben.
Yeah. So I think Liz mentioned it in an earlier confessional, like before we even did the challenge and everything.
Oh, okay.
But I did think it was interesting because this whole moment with Ben, he was talking with a group of people. I don't know. There were so many conversations in this episode, but I think Tiffany brought up, I think Liz brought up Tevin's name and Ben was like, oh, are you sure like this is the person you want to vote for right now? And then he immediately goes and tells people to vote for Tevin. So yeah, I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting that they cut those two things together. I don't know what it means, but it was interesting. We
should have known Tevin was going the moment they cut over to Kenzie and Tiffany saying he is so likable because they're two of our, Tiffany tonight definitely took a hit on her winner edit. Kenzie, Tiffany were in our top 3, or at least in our top 4. I don't know where she was. They both were for you, but they've both been pretty high up for us for a while. Tiffany has no idea Q is against her, though she does find out about this at Tribal. And I think that will come up into play next week. I mean, next week on Survivor was basically everyone dump on Q. That's what it looked like.
Which I think is fair.
By the way, Q can take it. Q can take it.
He can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Q can take it.
And if you're gonna drop a bomb like that in Tribal, like if you make it through that vote, you have to expect like next week everyone's gonna be coming for you. So yeah.
I think you might be right. Liz might have brought it up first because I mean, I wrote down that Ben said that, and maybe Ben brought it up first. I don't know. Liz is gonna get credit, and maybe this is what you were alluding to earlier. Liz is going to get credit because Q is like, hey, Liz, are you voting off Tevin? Because they just talked about voting off Tiffany. And Q, Liz is like, yeah. Liz like, uncaring.
Yes.
Yeah, we're voting off Tevin. And Q, it just zooms on Q's face and just holds. Like he does not say a word or react. Q goes and tells Hunter, and this is Q's big mistake, as he would say, if he had done a confessional. But, I mean, he did have a confessional, and I almost wanted to point out that confessional looked like it was earlier in the day or the next day. I'm like, oh, Q's safe tonight. That's what I thought when I saw the confessional after he talked to Hunter. The Hunter talk looked like it was right before Tribal, lighting wise. Like it did not look like the sun is where it is when he's doing his confessional. And I assume his confessional, he has to like walk somewhere, and then he has to sit down and they have to talk with the producer. Like I assume it takes a little bit of time, is what I'm saying. And I feel like they didn't have enough time to do that confessional where he says he done screwed up. And so I was like, Q safe. That's what I thought. I'm like, and then when Q said he was going to quit, I was like, why did they do that confessional? Do they do confessionals where they still look like they're starving and stuff the day after they voted off? I don't think so. They usually let them clean up that very night at Ponderosa. Like Survivor doesn't fake those confessionals the after they're voted off. Once they're voted off, that's it. So anyways, I assumed Q was safe and I was right. So anyways, I'm not like trying to bolster myself. And just at that moment, I was like, okay, Q's safe. But I didn't know Q was going to like volunteer to quit. The chaos threw me off. I should have known he wasn't going anywhere. Q tells Hunter, okay. And he doesn't get it. He says, Hunter also going to talk to others. Big mistake. I mean, big mistake for Hunter and for Q. I'm like, Hunter wanting to talk to others is a big mistake. Everything's a big mistake. Don't just do whatever Q wants and don't talk to anyone else. Oh, it's a big mistake.
Yeah. Well, and also even the root of this is like, because I think Liz told Q that like, hey, everyone's voting for Tevin. So he could have, like, he didn't have to make it so chaotic. He could have just voted for Tevin tonight. Yeah. But he said specifically, he's like, I don't like not being in control. I need to get control back. And that's why he went to go talk to Hunter, what does that accomplish? What was his goal in that conversation? Exactly. And I think that is Q's downfall, is just the fact that he always has to be in control of everything, which is kind of the Boston Rob strategy. Like you said, like, I don't know. I think if he would have just voted for Tevin tonight and then like done damage control the next day, like that could have been a strategy that worked. But this obviously was kind of chaotic. You need a specific set of naive recruits to do what Boston Rob did. And they don't have that this season. Now, there's a bunch of goats, there's a bunch of chaos, but there's not a bunch of naive recruits who, I don't want to say are dumb, but anyways, so to do what Boston Rob did. So Venus goes to break up the talk. She's like, there's no rules. I can go break up the talk. And like, this is almost shades of Russell Hantz. Not in, how do I say this? Not in the way, not in a good way. Let's put it that way. Yeah. This is I will say shades of Russell Hantz being like, Russell Hantz, like, I can do whatever I want. I can do this. I can do that. And it's like, you can, but it's not going to help you. Yes. I will say, as a viewer, I loved watching Venus do this. I wish she would have just like sat down next to them. Cause Liz was like, listen, can you please like walk away? Like we need to finish this conversation. And Venus was like, okay, but can you just like promise to wrap it up in a few minutes? And then she left. Yeah. For me, I was like, I wish she would have just, committed. Just like go sit down like right next to Liz and be like, no, I'm sitting here. It's a free beach. Like, I'm just going to sit
free
here.
Country. I can do what I want.
Yeah. And Liz is like, no, it's not. I just bought the beach. And she pulls up her bank account and shows.
Pulls out the title.
She bought the land.
Pulls out the title to the land. Fiji's no longer free. I own it. Pay tax.
Yeah. No, but I love this move from Venus, but I do also understand, like, as someone else playing the game, like, this would have been super annoying, and it does not help Venus's game at all, but it was very entertaining to watch.
Yes. Venus definitely is helping bring the chaos, and I'm down for Venus saying she's going to bring chaos. I didn't really care much for when Venus was just being snippy and professional. It's like, all right, whatever. The chaos in the game, I'm down for. I'm pro chaos. So keep bringing chaos, and you're okay with being in the game. Same with Q. When Q tried to quit tonight, I was like, keep Q in the game, please. Keep Q in the game.
Yeah. Yep.
Totally forgetting of my premonition about how he was going to be safe from that confessional. But anyway, so I was like, keep Q in the game. Keep Q in the game. All right. So we go to Tribal Council. And at Tribal, Q's like, Jeff, before we even get started, I just want to tell everyone that you all should vote for me. And he clarifies this is not a quit.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
It is.
It's a manufactured quit. I think, wasn't that in a recent season? Was that in the last season when Jeff got onto Sean? Or was that not Sean? I think a manufactured quit is what he called it. Somebody called that at some point.
Forget who it was, but yeah, it was one of the people who quit last season, I think.
Why are people quitting? It's 26 days. This isn't even a full game of Survivor. It's literally 2/3. You're getting fun size Survivor. You're getting, a shrinkflation Survivor. It's more expensive and yet you don't get as much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why is anyone? So anyways, Q has a different mindset. I don't fully believe him when he says it's to make everyone else play the game. Did Q not watch what happened on the beach today? People are playing the game. The fact that there was no talk of Nami versus Siga was amazing. After a couple weeks.
That's true. That's a good point.
There was no tribal lines brought up today. It was just who's in alliances. And I was like, oh, there are alliances outside the tribal lines. Okay, catch me up, outside and the 6 is not a real line. I mean, that's a bull alliance. That's what that is. The crap alliance. Anyway, so he says this and I'm like, I can't believe Q's going to quit. He's not going to be on the jury. He's not, I don't even know if you get paid if you quit. I really have no idea. I feel like if you
wow.
I don't know. I'm sure you do, but I don't.
Yeah.
If you quit, you don't go to the reunion and you don't get the 10,000 for being at the reunion. I don't know. That's the thing. It's like, why, like, just stick it out. Like, if you really want to be voted off, just do something really dumb, just do something really dumb.
Yeah.
You don't have to ask.
Which is, and also, like, because Q was talking about earlier this episode, he's like talking about how they just got to eat and stuff, and that was the whole thing where he was like, I talk a lot more when I'm full, and Kenzie was like, yeah, you were quieter on Yanu and all this stuff. So it's like, it's not even like, I mean, things were so bad on Yanu, and like he made it through that, and then now they're here and now they're like playing the game of Survivor. It really, honestly, to me, it feels like, Q just didn't get his way, and so he just doesn't want to play the game anymore. Like, he wasn't in control of the vote. And I don't know, like, I do think that there is an element of guilt in there too, like he said, of just like, oh, I made a mistake and now someone else is going to go home because of that.
And he was getting his way on Yanu. I mean, it was never against Q on Yanu.
Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah. But yeah, so like, I do understand, like, I'm sure he does have some guilt with that, but I don't know. It definitely did feel like a quit, even though he wanted it to seem like it wasn't. But that's how it felt for sure.
Oh, boy. All right. Well, everyone, I mean, basically comes down to everyone saying this is really dumb. But what's important is that Tevin's left out of the vote, duh. But Hunter's also left out of the vote. And he's going to need to win out on immunities. That's really, I mean, we can talk about this whole tribal, but at the end of the day, what happened is people are like, Q's going to screw up our game by doing this. We have more important matters at hand, and they vote off Tevin. So.
Yeah. And I do think, I mean, well, you mentioned this earlier, but I do think that also, like, Q is kind of public enemy number one now. Like, I think it was smart for people not to get distracted by him and to go ahead with the plan for tonight's vote. But yeah, Q is going to have a hard time getting people to work with him after this for sure.
Well, Q isn't winning. I mean, let's just put that there. I mean, somehow he might be below Liz on her rankings tomorrow. I don't know. Mary sent me hers. I haven't looked at them yet, but yeah, Q's not winning. No. Also, at some point today on Twitter, Wednesday, the day we're recording this, and we're posting on Patreon, Venus posted that she's not watching tonight's episode because she's so upset, and she didn't seem like she was joking. And as we were watching, I'm like, oh, it's because she gets dunked on by Tevin. But I was like, oh, and she probably gets voted off. But she didn't even get voted off, and I'm like, did something happen that she thought was going to air and didn't air? You know, I don't know.
Oh yeah, that would be interesting. I want to know what that is.
I wonder why. I don't know. All I know is that I've seen this cast probably be the most upset at other people online out of everybody. And I love it. A casting duplicate, not all of this cast, but duplicate a lot of this messiness. I love it. Yes. And mix in a little Couture and Bruce, mix in a little Sammy's who's only 19, stuff like that. Yep. We definitely need, Jelinski. Who knew that in the middle of the season, they're still referencing Jelinski.
Yes.
What? That never happens.
Yeah.
That stuff usually reserved for us online. Like as we watch an edited show, who knew during the season they would still be referencing Jelinski from day 3?
I do wonder, and I feel like you've said this before, but I wonder like how much of that normally happens on the island, but just gets cut out. And like,
I feel
we're
like
just getting more of it now because the 90-minute
episodes. This happened before, this would have been left in the show. You know, the show loves to make how big of a deal it is, but it's like, I don't know, man. I feel like Reem on Edge of Extinction was a big character for us because of the edit, but like there was no time to really talk about Reem on Edge of Extinction. There's so much happening in 60 minutes. You're right. It could be the extra time we have, but also like Reem was on the edge of extinction where no one in the actual game was going to talk about her. And Reem was saying the most asinine things over there. And it was funny. I love Reem. Reem's a great character, but I don't think Jeff was going to, reference Reem telling everyone she's gonna blow up on them, dude, and screw you. When she's saying all these things over on the edge of extinction where no one can see her. It's like if a bear craps the wood. I don't know what. No, a tree falls in the woods. No one's there to see it. Did it make a noise? Sorry, not. Does a bear crap in the woods is a different question. The answer, by the way, is yes. But anyways, so Tevin voted off. All right, let's move on. What's new on Patreon? Podcasts are always posted early on Patreon. They're ad free. Somebody asked me last week, if I had a choice, how do I want them to listen to it? I mean, however you want to listen to it, it's up to you. They're on Patreon first. And if you want to financially support channel, Patreon is great for that. If you notice, we don't have advertisements in our podcast. We're not the On Fire podcast. We're not going to have 8 advertisements over the course of 30 minutes. This is it. This is the only time in the podcast I do it. I got the Philip story video up on Patreon. Rupert Bonham story video will be up on Patreon on Thursday. So if you're listening to this on YouTube, it's probably up already. But if you're listening on Wednesday when we post it on Patreon, it'll be up tomorrow. And I just made an All Stars 2 / Second Chances 2 / Survivor 50 cast video with my 20 players, 10 from the new era, aka seasons 35 and newer, and 10 people from older Survivor, people who I want to be on the show, basically, because the patrons picked that video. And they also picked Rupert's video. All right. Link in the description for that. We greatly appreciate you. Literally. Unless Liz sponsors us, I decline almost any sponsor email. I mean, every sponsor. They're like, can I? I'm like, are you Liz? So that's your answer to this question will determine my answer. You send back
a Google form. You're like, fill out this form. It's just one question. Are you Liz?
It's a drop down. Yeah, it's a multiple choice. A, yes. B, no. If you answer B, I don't even look at it, your form. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to question of the week. Somebody actually last week, Rebekah, posted the score. Do I remember what the score is so far between us? No, but I think I had 5 and somehow like 2/3. I must have made a rule about the thirds. And I think you and Mary combined had like 2 and like 1/3 or something like that. So
amazing.
Catch up.
Combined or each?
No, combined.
Combined? Okay, that's good.
Catch up, scrub. All right, so give me your question first.
Well, I've never seen Survivor before, so really the trivia questions are kind of unfair.
You're doing really good for somebody who's never seen the show. All right, give me your question first. I think I went first last week.
Okay. All right. All right. Hopefully this is not an easy one. Which is the first season in which multiple hidden immunity idols were played at the same tribal council and negated votes at the same tribal council?
All right, let's back up and catch me up here. So this season has multiple hidden immunity idols.
Yes.
Okay.
Multiple played.
Well, hold on. Multiple played at the same tribal or multiple played just in the season?
At the same tribal. Oh. And in that tribal, multiple idols negated votes.
Okay. So the multiple idols hidden was a giveaway, but then it got messy when you said multiple idols played.
Yes.
And
and I have options for you.
Multiple idols negated votes. Hang on, let me see if I can think of it for the options. Probably not. The negating part is what's throwing me off because I think I could figure it out if it was just multiple idols played. But go ahead. All right, so give me my options.
Okay. So the options are fans versus favorites.
No.
2. Season 26.
Oh, geez.
Yes, season 26.
We're going deep.
The next option is Nicaragua.
No.
And then the last option is heroes versus villains.
Oh. So Parvati plays 2 idols in heroes versus villains, and she plays one for Sandra, and she plays one for Jerry. And I think the one that she plays for Jerry negates votes. I don't think the one for Sandra negates votes. Nicaragua doesn't have a double idol play. Has a double quit, but doesn't have a double idol play. In fact, people sat on their idols for way too long this season. So if I had to guess, I'm going to guess Caramoan, but I wouldn't be shocked if you told me that actually Parvati's double idol play in Heroes vs. Villains was it. So I'm going to say Caramoan because I believe the Malcolm 3, which was him, Eddie, and the other guy. Sorry for forgetting his name. Reynolds. There we go. Because Orwell actually came in. I think they played idols, and I think they negated multiple different. Anyways, go for it. Is that the right answer?
Yes, that is correct. Yeah, and you got it exactly right. Yeah, Malcolm and Eddie both had idols played that negated votes for them, and I think Philip Reynolds ended up going home.
Yeah, Reynolds had immunity already or something like that because that was they wasted a lot of power on that move. A lot of power.
Yes.
It was
that was like one of the first scenes I saw from Survivor.
That season,
what is this show?
Like this one had a rough start, and I think picks it up in the second half. So it has a very messy first few episodes, that's for sure. All right, your question is a bit easier, I think. So your question is, which woman has played the most days as Survivor?
Oh.
Before I give you multiple choice, do you have an answer?
Mm-hmm. Okay, I have some thoughts. I know Amanda had the record for a while, but I forget exactly how many days it was. I feel like she's going to be at least in the top 3. I want to say maybe Sarah as well. She's got to be up there. And Cerise probably on the list. So, okay, what are my options?
You're going to love this. Your options are A, Cerise, B, Sarah, C, Amanda, or D, Parvati. Great. You're welcome.
Okay, excellent. I don't think it's Parvati. My gut is saying, because hasn't Cerise played in like
4 seasons?
Just so many seasons. It's 4 seasons, yeah. And Sarah, she's made it to the end. Okay, my official guess is I want to say Sarah.
And it could
be Cerise though.
It was Parvati.
It was Parvati?
So here's why. What? Here's the easy way. Amanda Sarah played 3 seasons. Sure. And they both got to the end twice. Sure.
Right.
Who gives a rip? Here's what's important. Cerise and Parvati played 4 times. What matters here is that Cerise got cut short one of her 4 seasons. Parvati never gets cut short. Did she get voted off early in Winners of War? Yes, but the edge of extinction still counts. She was on the edge.
Oh,
till day 36.
Okay.
So her first season, she makes it to like day 34, day 35. Seasons 16 and 20, she gets to the very end. And then in Winners of War, she gets to day 36. So
gotcha.
Parvati has played 149 days. Now, if you don't count the edge, I think Cerise wins. But Cerise, because she always gets to the end, but not quite the end. But I didn't have a whole list in front of me of who like top 5 were. I also went based on gut. I was also going to throw in Andrea Belke because she played 3 times, but I don't think she ever gets to the end. So that would have been an easy one to remove.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
149. I think Boston Rob has
That's
to
crazy.
have the most. He has to have the most for any man, right? He's played like 7 times.
Yeah, so many times.
I don't think we count Island of the Idols though. I don't think that counts.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. He gets the
It's
end.
a little bit cheating.
He gets the end twice. In Marquesas, he gets cut at the merge. Winners at War, he's there till day 36. So he gets the end essentially 3 times. Does he? And he played Heroes vs. Villains. He gets cut kind of early-ish. But he played 5 times. Yeah, he probably has the most male days. Days for men, I mean. All right, so let's move on to TV ratings. Believe it or not, Rebekah, last week was the second lowest viewed episode. I was shocked.
Really?
Yeah, last week was really good.
That is surprising. It was.
I don't know why. They should have done their marketing merge for episode several because instead of for episode 6, because episode several was actually good. I mean, episode 6 was pretty good, but and they had the most views of the season. But yeah, last week, 4.64 million, the second least of the whole season. However, our notorious battle against the Chicago trio of shows, we won. And here's why. Chicago did reruns last week.
Oh.
I'll take a win where I Chicago was on reruns, so Survivor won the night pretty easily.
Huge mistake. Huge mistake.
Chicago really cares about their ratings versus Survivor. I'm sure that's their top concern.
Of course.
As Q would say, huge mistake by Chicago. For those who are new, welcome. Survivor's already been renewed for 2 more years in Fiji, so we should be guaranteed to get through season 50. Beyond that, Jeff said he's willing to still make the show as long as people who are working on it still work on it and don't quit. So we should be just fine. I don't know why they give up a guaranteed paycheck like this.
If you quit as crew,
I think he means
your torch snuffed?
Nah, I think he means executives. I'm guessing he means people.
That's fair.
People he's probably worked with for many, many years who are in charge like him.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
This is a cake paycheck. You could literally put out a bunch of bad episodes that we still watch, we
absolutely.
are an audience who has been abused and we come back for more. All right. Please, sir, can I have some more? That's us. All right. Well, the TV ratings are up on screen if you're here on YouTube. So let's move on to winner analysis. And I don't feel confident in anybody except for my number 1. Even my number 2, I feel a little shaky on. So Rebekah, I'll let you lead. I don't even know who your top 3 are. Who's your number 3?
Yeah. So I feel kind of similar to you. I don't feel like there's many people that I'm like, I feel really solid about them. So that being said, my number 3 is Tiffany. She was my number 1 for a while, but I do think that in this episode, she just has been thrown out as a pretty big threat. Everyone kind of knows she has an idol now. So, I mean, she has that to probably get her through next week if she plays it right. But after that, she's definitely being perceived as a threat. So that being said, I think she is still very likable. I think a lot of people, like working with her. And tonight, honestly, I mean, it's hard to tell because there was so much chaos and, we're just watching an edited show beforehand. So you don't know all the conversations that happened, but it did seem like she was going to be able to get the votes towards Tevin. But it's also just not great that she didn't know that her name was on the chopping block. So I don't know. I feel kind of mid about Tiffany right now, but she has been my number 1 for a long time. And so I feel good about her still being in the top 3, but she's definitely in a precarious position right now. And we'll have to see how next week goes for sure.
Yeah, I'm with you. Tiffany, we for so many weeks, we said, Tiffany, there's almost no flaw in her edit. I don't see anything wrong. She wasn't the hot, as I said last week, she's not the hot stock on the rise. She's not the new stock here that's going up, but she's been very steady. And this is the first week where I'm a little shaking on Tiffany all of a sudden. Though she does have an idol. Can't forget that. She just has to play it correctly. I will say that I forgot to mention that tomorrow, for those who skipped to this part of the podcast, we did talk winner analysis the whole time. Rebekah, myself, and Mary, all 3 of us will be on tomorrow to talk about the final 9. And to figure out who the heck's winning, because right now it's become a confused mess. So tonight we're just doing our top 3. All right, my number 3 is Charlie. Actually, it's the first time he's cracked the top 3. Tevin had to go. I couldn't leave Tevin in the top 3 anymore.
That would have been so chaotic for you to do that.
Soda got to go to, and then Tevin had to go to right after. So Tevin's gone. Charlie's moves up. it is hard for me to ignore how often we cut to Charlie and what his thoughts on things are. It doesn't make me think he's going to win necessarily, but I cannot ignore how important Charlie is. I forget if he has a backstory. These are things that Mary has notes on, so we'll ask her tomorrow. I don't remember if he does. I don't think he does. But Charlie is constantly cut to for confessionals. He talks to Maria, but he's clearly he is now the main character of those two. I thought for a while it was going to be Maria.
Yeah.
It's Charlie. Maria's just a side character. She's not a main character. It is Charlie. Charlie's the main. We hear from Charlie all the time. What are Charlie's thoughts? This post-merge, I mean, I've been kind of ignoring it because I've been blinded by so many other things. But no, Charlie's a main character, and it's hard to ignore how important he is. And I think if Charlie's in the final three, I don't know if he wins, but I wouldn't be surprised at the moment. The way how important, kind of like him and Venus, like at the moment, like they're both so important. I could see how they're both in the final three. I don't, it doesn't mean they're winning, just means I think they're both there. But Charlie's a much better chance at winning than Venus. That's why he's number 3. I think Charlie's my top 3rd for a reason. Is Charlie in your top 3?
He is. He's actually my number 2.
Oh, so that weird. Okay.
Goes nicely.
Well, my number 2 is Tiffany. So.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well there you go.
I think I know who your number 1 is then. All right.
Yeah, we probably have the same top 3.
Well, let me circle back. So we should done. I didn't know your top 3 were. We should have done this like we did last week, alphabetically. All right, so let's talk about Charlie. For me, he's number 3, and for you, he's number 2. Rebekah, tell me about Charlie.
Yes. So I agree with a lot of your points about Charlie. I think he is impossible to ignore. He definitely feels like kind of a main character. We hear a lot of strategy from him. Even tonight when he found out about the 6, I mentioned this earlier, but when he found out about the 6 alliance and kind of got pulled into that, he was like, this is barely an alliance. I'm going to be the first person to like turn on this alliance, basically. And so, yeah, I think he's got a strategic head on his shoulders. He seems very liked. He doesn't seem, from what I recall, I don't think he's really been thrown out too much as a threat, except for by Venus, but like no one listens to Venus. So I feel like that doesn't really count. And so, yeah, I think he's very likable. He's very charming. He's got the Taylor Swift thing. So obviously I like that.
No, I should move him down.
No, but yeah, yes, mostly because of that. No, but yeah, I think he's in a really good position. He is really tight with Maria, who I think she's going to be a really good ally and asset for him. Although, like you said, I don't see her winning at this point just because we hardly ever focus on her. It's really always about Charlie. So yeah, I feel pretty good about Charlie, and yeah, that's why he's my number 2.
Okay, well, next up is Tiffany. Tiffany for me is number 2. For you, she's number 3. Now you've kind of talked about Tiffany. I'll talk about Tiffany a little bit. She definitely got some cracks in the edit armor. That's why she moved down for you. She hasn't moved down for me, especially because I'm like, I mean, I'm not going to push up Charlie number 2 this quickly. He's got to earn that spot. I got to be more convinced. But but Charlie has not been mentioned as a vote off. Heck, last week he was safe in a situation where he should have been a target when tribal lines were still being brought up.
Yep.
Tiffany, I mean, she could be a target of Q, but like, do you think Q has any power after tonight?
I don't know if Q has power. But yeah, I think just the fact that like people have talked about Tiffany as a threat, even if it was Q mostly bringing it up, I think those conversations were still had. And also the fact that like so many people know that she has an idol at this point. I feel like that kind of raises her threat level a little bit. So, I mean, honestly, I think if she plays the idol next week and you know, then everyone like that threat goes away, I think she has more of a chance, but it kind of depends on how she plays next week. So yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Okay, well, both of our number 1s are, you ready for it? Liz, yes. That's right. Liz has moved into number 1 for both Rebekah and I. We are not being paid by her. This is a legitimate opinion.
Yep.
By the way, definitely Google Liz Wilcox and go to her business and please give her money. That is unrelated to our number 1.
I love how generic that was. Just go to her business.
I still don't fully understand it. And no one's me to fill me in. So I went to the website. I still don't get it. So anyways, our number 1 is actually Kenzie.
Yes, correct.
Bruh, if Kenzie wasn't even brought up as a target this week.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like Kenzie is at this point such a good, like, under the radar player. Like, she's in such a good position with being tight with Tiffany. And I mean, you know, she's been in this Yanu 3. Obviously, that's no longer a thing with Q doing what he did tonight. But yeah, Kenzie's in such a good position and no one is seeing her as a threat. And she's my person that I'm like, I feel like this is too obvious because we've heard from her so much this season that I'm like, I feel like it's too obvious. And I felt that way about Tevin. I felt that way about Banu in episode 1. But like, I don't know. At this point, I think it's looking really good for Kenzie to be the winner.
Kenzie, as Q would say, when it comes to the Survivor editing team, big mistake. Big mistake. We reached the merge with this podcast. Big mistake. We get the winner figured out almost every time. I'm sorry, Gabler. Almost every time. We get the merge is a giveaway on who's important. And Kenzie, man, by the time we were done with pre-merge, I'm like, I don't know about Kenzie because they did a good job. They did a good job making us think Kenzie's gonna go. Like the first chance Yanu gets to get her out, she's go. Nope. It was all to bury the lead, baby. Here we are. I'm on the Kenzie train. Kenzie is going to win. I'm not saying 100%, but I'm saying 99%, and that means nothing. But at the same time, no, post-merge it means a lot. Pre-merge, it's really hard to say because, you know. But anyways, post-merge, I think it's very important. Kenzie, man, I think I said starting in the merge episode, I'm like, all things have, like, her edit took a complete 180, it felt like, the merge. And nothing last week has changed my mind. Nothing this week has changed my mind. And Kenzie's number one. And there is a gap now because of the shots fired against Tiffany. I thought Tiffany and her were super close ranking wise last week. Kenzie was just the hot stock, but no, Kenzie's number one. And I'm just going to hold that. Is there any hint right now that Kenzie's going to win in the editing? I don't think she has an emotional backstory. She doesn't have a slow-mo shot, though Tevin had one. Not that it mattered, apparently. Is her name in the middle of the screen? No. Did she put up her arms like V for victory? No. Did she have a winner quote in the first episode? I don't know. I haven't rewatched it yet. But what I do know is that Mary has some of these notes. I'm going to ask her tomorrow again, and then she'll tell me, and I'll forget instantly the next week. So that's why she's here. Kenzie is number one. The show is making it so apparent in my mind. And I'm okay with that. I think if Kenzie wins, it's what you want, Rebekah. You want somebody who makes sense. And I feel like Kenzie is bringing it home for Lex. Lex was the first player to ever play just covered in tattoos. Kenzie is fulfilling the prophecy. There's no prophecy. Fulfilling the prophecy of the all tattooed person finally winning. Now, other people have won with tattoos, but not to the level of Lex or Kenzie. Never. Yeah,
she does have the whole mermaid dragon thing too, which I think that's like just a great winner name.
That's the story name if she wins, you know?
Yep.
Anyways, so Kenzie's number one. We talked about it so in depth. We'll talk about it tomorrow, but yeah, Kenzie's number one by a gap. I can't say by a mile because one bad episode for Tiffany is not enough to just tank her by any means. Not that I would never do that. Never. I need multiple episodes to tank you. So, yeah. Do you have anything else for Kenzie?
No, I think that's it. I think we covered it.
All right, we'll go more in depth on all 9 people tomorrow. Anyways, let's move on to questions. Now, I will point out, I apologize. It's not my fault, literally, because YouTube is glitching. Rebekah and I both checked YouTube, and it says there's like 60 comments, but I can see like 5 of them. Not even several, like 5. I don't know what is going on with YouTube today. But so
I hope they're good questions.
Yeah, I hope so too, because I don't have a big selection to pick from. All right, first question is from Dylan. Who's a bigger goat, Venus or Q? To bring to the end.
In terms of goat, I feel like Venus, just because, I don't know. It is kind of a toss-up, but Q, I feel like, has at least made some moves, at least earlier on in the game. Now, granted, like, yeah, it's not great to threaten to quit multiple times. So, I don't know. It's kind of a toss-up, but I think overall, at least Q has like some game moves he can look back on, and no one really takes Venus seriously. So
I could see if it was Q, let's say it was a final 2 and it was Q versus Venus. I think, believe it or not, I think Venus could win that. Just depends on the person's opinion, because is it more important to you that somebody tried to quit, I mean, he tried to quit. That was a manufacturer quit that failed. I'm glad it failed. It brings chaos, but he was trying to quit straight up. And I don't know if I was a juror, I think I would give it to the person who didn't try to quit. Even if they played terrible, I would give it to the person who didn't try to quit. Hey, at least you children quit. I say this all the time. I know not here on the podcast, I don't think, but I play a lot of what's it called? Real-time strategy games on my PC. One Age of Empires is one of them. And we get into a game. If people quit, I'm like literal children. I'm like, what is there to lose by sticking it out? Games can turn around. They do it all the time. But people quit. Like, there's nothing to lose here. You're not literally losing men.
Right.
What's there to lose here? You're on day 16 out of 26 days. You're already here in Fiji anyways. You gotta stay. This isn't like a go home to my husband situation like Sean or, I'm a therapist who probably shouldn't be, who needs to help herself first. Anyways, as Boss Rob would say, not much of a therapist or school principal. So
I think the question is, does the jury,
what do they respect?
Do they dislike when someone tries to quit more than they dislike someone who they've had personal beef with for, however many days? So I don't know. I could see either one, but you do bring up some good points. I don't know.
This is a question.
It depends on the jury.
Since we don't have several questions tonight, this is a quick question. This is more of a yes or no. Have you ever dropped something or tried to reach for something and it's just out of reach? So you're like, maybe the Force is real, and you try to use it, like from Star Wars. Just happened like 5 seconds ago. I dropped something like, maybe this time the thing from the science fiction movie will happen. So anyways, all right, next question is from Clash R4. Cooldown episode for Kenzie. And can Liz actually win? So they're asking, is this a cooldown episode for Kenzie? First question, part one. So let's answer that.
In some ways, okay, this is a great question. In some ways, I would say yes. But in other ways, I feel like no, because we still heard from Kenzie and we still heard like strategy talk from her, even though she really was not that important in this episode. Like she was not in the loop with like all the back and forth on, are we voting for Tevin or Tiffany or whatever. She wasn't part of any of that. She didn't find out until Tribal that, Tiffany's name was out there, but we're still hearing from her and we're still hearing like, it's, I don't know, not like critical information, but it's strategy. It's not just like fluffy confessionals. So I don't know. What do you think, Wesley?
I mean, it was a little bit of a cooldown episode, but I think there was so much other chaos happening that, Kenzie still got to speak her piece tonight. I think it's actually a good thing to not be part of it. There's a lot of bad chaos tonight. And it's a good thing to not be a part of it. That's my opinion. I think if it's a cooldown, it's a good cooldown because she still got to speak her piece. She was still in the episode. She was not skunked or anything. But this is bad chaos to be caught up in. A lot of this chaos is bad. So it's a good thing she avoided all of it, if not most of it. Though her being in the Force, hiding pretty well, big mistake, you said, I recall. Huge mistake.
Critical mistake.
How dare you be good at hide and seek? Huge mistake. Huge. All right. So our third question is also from Clash R4. Can Liz win? Like on a real level, not on a joking level.
Yeah.
Can Liz win? I don't think she actually can win.
Yeah. I think like it is good that she seems to have started playing the game because she talked about that tonight of like, oh, like I need to start playing.
I love when people get off their hands and play. I don't care if you're good or bad. I love it.
Yes, agreed. I do think it's too late in the game to start playing like this far into the game. But that being said, I mean, I don't think Liz has really made any enemies and like, like I think you said earlier, Tevin's really the main one who had kind of pointed out that like her money is like, a red flag, I guess, or whatever. So
and
I don't
Tevin's
know.
gone. Who cares?
I think she could win, but yeah, a lot of things would have to happen to like get the right people at the end.
She needs IQ, Venus, and Liz final three at the moment. I think it's her best chance. I think she loses to Kenzie, Charlie, Maria, Ben. Who am I missing? Somebody I'm missing. Well, actually, Hunter.
Oh, Hunter. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think she beats any of them, but there is a final 3 here where I think she has an okay chance, and it's called Q and Venus. And the fact that there are 3 goats in this game out of a final 9 is amazing to me. So yes,
Yeah.
beat Q and Hunter.
But I guess the question is like, does
Liz, Q and
does
Venus, whatever.
Liz? I guess the question is like, yeah, does Liz have the power in the game right now to navigate to that final 3? I don't think she does. I don't know if there's anyone else who wants that final 3 who has the power to make it happen.
At the moment, that's Q's only chance too. I mean, it's really Venus, Q, and Liz's only chance is that final 3.
So if they band together,
hey, let's be the goat alliance. We're all goats. Let's go to the end. Venus like, well, actually, I got soda out of this game. Exactly why you're in this alliance.
Yep.
All right, next question. Our 4th question is from Patrick. Who do you think is going to benefit the most from Q blowing up his game? Benefit the most? I don't know. Who had a target on their back that now can be ignored? Tiffany, maybe?
I mean, in some sense, I actually think Tiffany and Kenzie will benefit from this, because I do think at some point, if the 3 Yanu people had stayed super tight, I think that would have been a red flag. But yeah, the fact that like Q is taking all that heat off of them, I think is going to be really good for the 2 of them. Yeah, I mean, in general, it's just always good when someone else does something to make themselves a huge target. Like that's good for everyone else to some extent.
All right, next question from Hayden. They said, isn't it weird how Q said, I hate when the vote gets changed last minute. Also Q, I need to change the vote ASAP. Big mistake. Big mistake.
Yeah.
Big mistake. Not really a question.
Yeah.
Just thought it was kind of funny. And the next question is, does Jelinski have a guaranteed spot on a future Returnee season? Never seen a first boot get referenced within the season this much, especially post-merge.
Yeah. That's a great question.
I think there's so many people I'd rather have on Survivor 50 than Jelinski.
Yes.
I mean, I think there's 20 people I'd rather have than Jelinski. I don't know how to say that.
Here's the thing. I feel like the meme of Jelinski is so much better than like he was as a character in the show. Now, granted, he was only there for what, 3 days, a couple days, however long. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like if they tried to bring him back out, I don't know if he'd even do it, but like, I feel like we'd get kind of the same thing where he kind of just like quits immediately.
I don't know. It's never going to be funny the second time.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my worry with bringing back somebody like Angelina from Dave vs. Goliath. I'm like she was hilarious first time, but like she might be too self-aware the second time, and it's not funny. There has to be unawareness for hilarity to ensue. That's why Coach was still funny the second time, because he was still unaware of why people thought of him the way they do. So, and then he wasn't even funny the third time. He was only funny the first 2 times. That's the thing. Like, you bring back somebody who was funny the first time, it's like, oh yeah, but are they aware that they were funny? Because they are. That's too much. It ain't gonna work. And Jelinski, unfortunately, made merch for himself, so he's too aware. Yeah. You need to bring back somebody like Roxroy from season 42, who literally no one's heard from him before or since. When he shows up, really is not even much of a character and says, I love being away from my nagging wife and kids. And then just like, that's it. That's all I remember about him. He comes back. I bet you hasn't read a single thing about Survivor. Maybe he watches the show. I'm not saying he doesn't, but I bet you he comes back. He's exactly the same person. That's what I'm saying. Like, you bring back somebody, just know they're going to be changed from the first time. Unless you bring back somebody who literally, I don't think has any interest in the show outside of watching it and getting a vacation out of it that once. I mean, do you even remember Roxroy from season 42?
Honestly, the name sounds familiar, but I can't picture him.
He smashed the hourglass that season. Yeah. And you still struggle to remember him.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying he should be brought back.
Yeah, that's wild.
I'm just saying I think he'd be the same person both times. But
yeah.
All right, our last question, our several question, because yes, if you include my question, we got to several. It's from Randall Westgard. What Taylor Swift song do you think Charlie sang over and over, Rebekah, while on the poll? She has a guess, but I'm gonna let you guess before I tell you her guess.
Interesting. I mean, he kind of sang "Shake It Off" when he was like shaking his arm out. What song did he sing over and over? I'm trying to think, is there one about, I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's one that's like relevant to holding on to something. I don't know what was her song that she mentioned.
All Too Well, the 10-minute version. 3 times.
Well, see, that would make sense. I don't know if he was up there. How long were they up there? Did they say?
They kept saying a number, but it was never impressive, so I never wrote it down.
Yeah.
Basically.
Because what Jeff was like, oh, the record for this challenge is like 2 hours.
And I'm like, that's not happening.
Ozzy. And Hunter's like, or who? It wasn't Hunter. Someone else was like, oh yeah, like, oh, I think it was Tevin. He was like, I can beat the record.
Yeah.
And then Jeff was like, you've been up there for 7 minutes.
Several minutes, yeah. So I think part of what's changed in that pole challenge too is that they've made the toe hold smaller. We kind of talked about that last season with Dee and her big toe when she won this challenge. Yeah. But yeah, they've made the challenge harder. So the chance of somebody beating Ozzy, first off, it's not even a fair comparison because you don't have the same pole. Like you don't have
it's a different challenge.
It's basically a different challenge. Yeah. All right. Well, somehow, despite all of our nonsense, we kept this podcast to our normal time this season, about an hour and a half, hour 40.
Nice.
So.
Look at us go.
Yeah. For those who get to the end, you're part of, understand. We're here to talk Survivor and nonsense. That's what this one. Yeah. You want just straight facts? Go to our Winter Analysis podcast tomorrow with Rebekah and I. We keep it straight facts. No jokes about Liz.
No. We're way too serious for that.
Yeah. And we definitely will not make any jokes. We'll keep it serious. That's all we do. Serious around here.
Yep.
All right. Well, we thank you all for listening and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Why did I say next week? We're going to be on tomorrow.